Today we have the great honor of welcoming Drew Miller, sales leader of First Class Real Estate Mid-Atlantic in Virginia Beach, Virginia. They have 100% entrepreneur models, amazing tools, a strong and warm culture, and franchise ownership opportunities. First Class has grown tremendously, and Drew found a home there. He co-owns At Peace Realty, where he and his wife, Paulie, both licensed in real estate, run their business team as a ministry. Drew has a mortgage background in addition to real estate, and his wife has a legal background. Drew is licensed in both Virginia and North Carolina, and we're excited to have Drew here on the show today. Welcome, Drew.
Good to be here, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Man, you bet. I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite some time.
Me too.
So I want to talk all about your real estate experience, your entrepreneurial experience with that, what you've got going on. I know you're currently a sales manager and building a team and doing a lot of great things, but I always like to kind of start off finding out sort of where people came from, because I think it's interesting to know, your experiences and what kind of got you here.
Well, let's see. Once upon a time, I was born when the first words were real on the state. Well, I started to pursue my career as a teacher. I went to Kennesaw State University in Georgia, transferred to UW, wanted to be an English teacher and really primarily a theater director on the high school level. But then I decided somewhere along my junior year, I didn't want to do that anymore. My mom kind of talked me out. I do have respect for teachers, but they don't really make a lot of money and when they probably should. So to provide for my family, I just decided I'd go a different route. I landed this awesome job in the mortgage industry and mortgage operations specifically. I started doing anything from collateral to post-closing, title endorsements, title curating, REO closing. And then even get this, mobile home loan.
Wow.
And then I did renovation, loan processing, and then loan processing supervisor after that. But all of that in 5 years in various roles. And I just realized I couldn't sit behind a desk anymore. And I decided, okay, I think I could probably be a good loan officer, but I really want to go the real estate route. So that's what I did. I took my license and there I am.
Wow. Okay. So you definitely took a circuitous path. I mean, teaching theater, I love theater. I don't know that I could ever do it, but I certainly appreciate those that do.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but from there into the mortgage business and the administrative and processing, the detail orientation of that, I could see how you'd want to get back into real estate where you're working more with clients, hands-on in the field and your creativity. But I imagine your experience of five years or so in the mortgage industry, kind of seeing all aspects of the back end, has impacted your ability to represent clients and understand the process.
Absolutely. I mean, the knowledge that I've gained through that, the paperwork, seeing it all, seeing that process, being able to really earlier on in my real estate, being able to definitely represent buyers in a really awesome way because I know that side of it. I'm not sure of other agents, but I know that at least now as a sales leader, I've seen agents struggle in knowing the mortgage process. And it makes it a lot easier to be able to not only handle that for clients, of course, with the precursor of I'm not a licensed loan officer like the date Paul Rule, but I do have enough experience to know, how to do certain things. I mean, I could go as far as calculating income, but I'm not doing that. But I at least know loan types, how the paperwork works. So I had a little bit of an advantage to being able to know, especially the documentation side of it. But it gave me a boost of confidence too.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And it seems to me that you're able to give insight to your clients just in terms of the process and expectations.
Yeah.
Because you've been there and you've seen and maybe even sort of advance warning on any landmines that they might be walking into, just based on that.
Well, yeah. And I mean, even the renovation experience has helped me a lot. I guess you could say that within my specialized niche, if I have, I can see a home pretty easily and evaluate what's needed. I can give fair ARV with after repair value. And so the renovation processing background really helped with that. And even though that might be a challenge to some, I really like the renovation side of it too.
And you say renovation, so specifically, so everyone understands, is that, are you talking about buying a home with the intent of renovating it? Like I'm going to buy a home and move into it, but I'm going to renovate as part of the process. Is that like on the investment side? Because we hear all about, people buying homes to renovate and either rent them out or for flip and sell them. What is
Yeah.
there one particular area or sort of all of that?
Well, I mean, a lot of people, when you say renovation, especially when it comes to mortgage, it could be a renovation loan option, but not necessarily. It's more so letting the client expand their horizons and not just stop at, I got to have a move-in ready home. It gives them more options to be able to see, you know, hey, I can update this if I do it this way. So having that background actually helps them educate them. I think that's for investors too. Investors, they'll come into a lot of as-is deals, for example, especially on the residential side, and even on the commercial side, which you know a lot of, they'll come into it and they'll look at it and they might be a little scared. But my knowledge of having the renovation helps kind of ease that scare so they can more easily go into it knowing that, hey, if you do this amount of work to this structure, then this is going to be the after repair value. So it also helps them with future equity opportunities and being able to see that in advance.
So you're essentially, you're helping to paint the vision of what this property could be, not just what you're buying today, but what it could be, it's with a little bit of love, a little bit of attention, certain focused areas based on your experience, and also coupling that with the financial background in terms of, hey, this is what it's going to take to do this, and
Correct.
here's the outcome.
Correct. And even the option for, say, a lot of people want a swimming pool, for example. Well, their home might not have that right away. That if you have the right layout of the lot, the acreage, the right backyard, as long as you're not eliminating power lines or anything crazy, you at least have that vision of, hey, I want a swimming pool. Well, I can more easily go, well, hey, you know what? After you get this, deal with Paul, and you go through the process, you actually could do a renovation refinance later when you're ready at some point, if you'd like, just for a swimming pool. And a lot of people don't know that they can do that. You don't have to do every renovations inside the home. You can do it that way. Or at least know, hey, I can save up. I don't have to do a loan. I can easily pay for it at some point. But then they kind of know, okay, well, if I go into this house and say there's no other neighbors with a pool at all, and they're being all one to one with it anyway, well, that adds an appealing value. Swimming pools are more like, hey, people are looking for it for the summertime. It doesn't add a huge amount of value as far as equity is concerned, but it does add enough. And as you know, Paul, the buyers determine the value of the home. What are they willing to pay for it? And if you're one of few of the pool, then you're going to be appealing to the neighborhood. So,
Well, you also have all the neighbors' kids at your house, so that's
yeah.
that's actually not a bad side effect if you want to keep an eye out on your own kids as they grow up.
Yeah, let's have to remember a tip bucket app. We might make a tip. So we just
Uh,
throw a tip in there so I can go swimming.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So do you have, Drew, like is there like we talked a lot about renovations, but do you guys focus on a specialized niche or an ideal client that you really like to focus with, work with?
I work with really a variety across the board. I have knowledge of a vast array. I primarily work in residential, but I do have quite a few investors that I've worked with as well. Dove a little bit on the commercial side. I really want to know more about that. So it's really across the board, but I'm going to say as of the last couple of years, year and a half or so, I've gained more investors. And I've noticed that they are looking with those, like, actually quite a few, they're looking for flips, fix and flip. I worked with one recently, one example for you, where I was representing the seller. The investor's normal go-to agent was out of town. I helped this buyer and got into a dual agency situation with my firm actually allows. And so I ended up representing both parties. Well, he flipped the home, which was originally a duplex, turned it into a single family because it actually worked out better for costs for him financially for it to be back to a single family. So he turned it into a 3-story top to bottom, having a bath and a half with an unfinished basement. And it turned out to be a very profitable scenario, buying it at 115,000 and then reselling it for 300. So
I'll say that's a good return.
exactly. So, and now I'm helping him list that. So now that's the third transaction I've had on the same property. It's probably rare, but I definitely like working with investors. It's something that I take pride in. I'm glad to be able to help them, and that growing relationships helps me too. I mean, I can definitely work with them on other deals as well. Whether they're looking to build, whether they're looking for multifamily, rental, residual income, you know.
Right. Why? Yeah, that's great. And that's a great story. Investors are a lot of fun just because they have they have a longer term perspective. Many of them. I mean, there's a lot of first time investors, as you know, that you have to educate quite a bit.
Well,
There is a learning curve there, but once they kind of get their hands around the concept, it's a fun way to build wealth, through real estate. And it's a nice, and you really get to partner up with them, right? Because it's not just a transactional kind of thing. It's something that you're working together as a team.
it's very rewarding. I mean, I make a little bit of money, of course. I've got to provide for my family, but
Sure.
it's very rewarding for me to see someone succeed. They're growing in the area that they're passionate about. Maybe they can quit their job and say, "Hey, I want to be a home flipper," or whatever they're doing. But increasing their bank account makes me ever the more happy. I mean, I'm also doing my job.
It is. Well, it's a win-win, Making money is not a bad thing. Good people do good things with money. Bad people do bad things with money, but it's pretty inert. And I'll say somebody said that, money doesn't make you happy, and that's true, but not having money certainly doesn't add your happiness either.
Correct.
So
Especially in this world we're living.
yeah, it gives you choice. And that's one thing I want to come back. I'm going to circle back to. I know that we mentioned in the introduction that you guys, part of this is your ministry. I want to come back to that because I think that's important. And I don't know, you're not trying to make a big deal about that, but I do want to mention it because I think it's important.
Well,
What I want to hear now is just kind of fun. I want to learn about one of your most interesting real estate transactions. I know you've got some doozies.
Well, I do. Let's see. I would say one time I was the listing agent to a very dear friend, and I worked with her on the children's ministry at a local church, and he built a strong relationship, and she wanted me to sell her home. And of course, I never know for sure what I'm walking into. Maybe do a little bit of research, but ideally I want to go see the home and, all of that, take my notes. Well, I went and I realized that it wasn't just one home, it was two. Good one in Chesapeake. So 2 structures on 1 lot. Well, the interesting part of this, and of course, I'm thinking, how am I going to market this and sell this and, all the normal thoughts. The flip home is a ranch flip, and it had 1.5 baths, but the full bath was in the hallway and the half bath was in one of the bedrooms. There was no bathroom inside a bedroom. Well, then the rear house is a 2-story with siding, and it was meant to be like a guest suite. Well, as I started digging more and more, I realized through the city of Chesapeake that they rent their in-law suites attached most of the time. If it's detached, it applies to a certain set of rules in the city of Chesapeake. So I did the research and found out that it had to be a guest suite. It couldn't be, you could have it as income producing. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, that changes things because I have to target this towards a multi-generational family that is willing to do this. I can't legally market it as an income producing property with the construction, which I thought was a challenge because I'm like, okay, well, investors would jump all over this. Because I knew the mortgage and, what their mortgage was and realized that they could have made a lot of money. So I had to do a very strategic marketing strategy. But in addition to that, I also had to send a drone up above the homes and take really good, awesome photos to make it look nice to show the two structures. And it's like, you look at it and you go, what is the other driveway? Well, it's a shared driveway too. So it's not, and there's that opportunity to make an underground. So it's literally one house behind the other. So anyhow, it was a very weird scenario. And when I talk to brokers, I've been in the industry total 10 years. But when I talk to a broker that's been in the industry 25 or 30 years, they'll tell you they never come across scenarios like this. And they've probably had maybe 3 or 4 in-law suite scenarios total. Well, for some reason, I gravitate towards them. I've had numerous in-law. This isn't just the first one I've been. This is the first in-law suite rodeo I've been in. But anyways, it made out to be a very fun story. It was a little more challenging. I usually do marketing very well and, had extra strategic efforts to make things go pretty quickly. That one didn't go quite as quickly as I'd hoped, but it was a fun story. It was a good memory. I can look back on it. I see it show up on my Facebook memories page of the story of selling that home. And this lady upgraded to a very awesome home. And the other cool part of this was that her mother was 96 years old when we sold the house. And the purpose for selling it was the mom was in the front house, she was in the rear house. She wanted to be together. And so she's like 99, almost 100 now, still alive, very good sound mind. And they live together in this awesome large home under one.
Wow.
One.
Wow. Well, that is interesting. Yeah, that would be, it seems like that would be tricky to sell. So you had to get really creative there, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I find makes a great real estate agent, a great entrepreneur, period, is really getting creative, because there's no shortage in, people call them challenges, problems. I call them opportunities, right?
Okay.
Hey, it's an opportunity to solve a problem, to add some value.
Yeah.
And anyone can grab the low hanging fruit across, whatever business they're in or whatever industry, but there's no money there. There's no real satisfaction there. But to go in and take something like this and create a solution that's a win for everybody is what it's all about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It would take a lot for me to say no. I mean, I'm always going to try to help everybody in any situation. So,
well, you definitely have a serving heart, no doubt. Tell me this, I mean, because you've seen a lot. What do you do to stay productive today and to stay focused? In the world that we're in right now.
well, I mean, to stay focused, I mean, I try to eat pretty well. I don't know if I eat the best all the time, but I'm not a big veggie guy. Then one thing that helps me stay focused is really, like you said, servant hearted. I feed off of serving other people. I really want to promote a love and value people business. And I'm the same way in my personal life too. I just want to be genuine about caring about people and helping them meet their goals. And it motivates me. It helps me. I want to go above and beyond the normal call of duty. And sort of we have our staple foods. I want to look at it as my staple spells. I want to make sure I have just the regular things about me. And it keeps me
So your heart is to serve. I mean, that's
yeah, that's where it's at for me. I mean, I look at it as coming along someone. And if they're going through a struggle, even in their personal life, I will never get personal unless they want me to. But if they need me for prayer, guidance, counseling type things, I may not be licensed in all those areas, but we're just coming alongside each other as human beings, helping meet each other's goals. But the home buying or the home selling process in itself, as far as business is concerned, is a very personal thing. So I say, why not make it personal on that level and make sure they know that you're walking with them throughout the process, so that they know you care. But I don't really think about it. I want to be like, hey, I really do care. I want you to have your goals met, but I want you to have the personal touch, and maybe we'll be a friend in the end,
What's this? I mean, it's a stressful experience, right? I mean, it's one of those things. I forget the hierarchy of like the seven most stressful events in your life. You know, getting married, I think, changing jobs, buying or selling a house. I mean, moving has got to be in the top three
But
or four, right?
like,
There's a
absolutely,
lot. There's a lot going on. You know, you've got kids to deal with, and maybe in some cases, you got adults. You know, like maybe your parents you're taking care of,
yeah,
job situations, a lot of timing issues, that sort of thing.
there's a lot involved. I mean, I've actually, to be honest with you, helped clients write their resumes in the middle of the process. They qualified, but they just wanted a better job, even though they qualified to die. They
Right.
wanted a better job. And I said, well, I've got an English degree. I'll help you.
And who thought that would ever come in handy, right?
Well, you never know. I mean, it's nice to be able to put it to use, Paul. When you pay for an education, so much is where that rap fits me. It's very nice to
I have to ask, do you ever quote Shakespeare to them?
know. And the funny thing is, I'm a theater guy. I've been involved in either acted, written, or directed over 35 productions,
Wow.
and I'm not a big fan of Shakespeare. Now, I like to watch Shakespeare, but I don't like to act, direct, or quote most of the time.
Hey, to thine own self be true, right? But beyond that, I'm with you. I've never acted in Shakespeare. I've never been in a play, and I still don't like it.
I can appreciate it when someone else is doing it professionally because
Yeah.
memorizing that is insane. That, yeah, not me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you, but that's cool. It is good to, well, I mean, here's the thing from English. I think, an English degree, all the reading, all the writing, all the things that you had to do to get that, you know, to me, it helps you develop your ability and your acting for crying out loud. It hones your ability to communicate, right?
Right.
And so you're in a communication business, you're in a relationship business. And I think that's critically important. And I think a lot of people have lost that ability today.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they do. I don't want to drift away from making it personal and staying personal with everyone and making sure, there's never any pressure to go beyond business. If you want me to be business and robotic or whatever, I'll do it. But I'd like to be open to more just because some people need more. Some people need life advice, some people
yeah.
need help with their resume. Some people need editing an email, I don't know.
Well, no, that's true. And, we used to be, we used to be a nation of the corner store where people go down to the local hardware store. And I remember when I moved to the Great Bridge area, Grassfield, there was a little local hardware store and Home Depot was across town. And man, I always went to the local hardware store and they'd never had the selection that Home Depot had,
And
but it was always kind of a comfortable place to go. And if I had a question, I'm not a DIY guy. And so, and they knew they got to know me. And so when they saw me coming, they knew they had to help, but they were always there to help and it was great and I appreciated it. And I think there's a lot of value there. And and you don't and you're not the kind of guy to get in somebody's face. You're there as a resource to help whatever level that they want to be. And that's what I'm taking from you. Talk about the market a little bit now. I know things have changed quite a bit, with interest rates and the world, we're in September right now of 2022. What are you seeing as the biggest challenge and what are you doing about it?
well, I mean, honestly, the low inventory has surprised me that it's continued to, I guess you could say, to rise lower. It's lower than it's ever been. I mean, especially in Hampton Roads, Virginia, where we live and operate mostly. I think that affects. I mean, I think if I had to say something to you sellers out there, I would say please step up to the plate. Remember that using a professional agent as well is always worth it to get it done the right way. But I think addressing the low inventory and the way to really approach that would also be to try to keep my ears open to be able to hear about sellers that maybe are on the fence, but still, deeply wanting to sell. You're still hearing that with maybe on the fence, and it's really just trying to stay in good communication to be able to promote that. Because I mean, honestly, the market is how who needs it. It's a good thing. And then of course there comes the advice and walking them through it without pressure and just helping them get through it. But I mean, honestly, I think the low inventory is a challenge, especially for people in my industry, because I mean, obviously on the sell side, well, it's hard to get a house to sell with no inventory, but it's also hard to find the place to buy it because there's low inventory. So I really do see that as the biggest challenge. I think for a rise, I think we'll overcome, it kind of goes up and down, just like we've seen interest rates go up and down. But yeah, I mean, I really would hope to see more of that. And, if I can be a part of it, you know, I'm glad to have as many listings as I can, of course. But, I just think there are situations where some people do get stuck. I mean, it's different when you have a home where you're renting it out. If you want to leave it as a long-term investment, you're probably not going to sell after some time. But it's always moving. It's the awesome thing about this industry. Things are always moving. People are always moving, and there's always a need, especially in an area where military thrives. Coming to get.
Right. Yeah, I mean, people get stationed, they get new orders, they move, and that's just the nature of the life around here for just about everyone. When you see when a nice home comes on the market, is there still a lot of attention on it, buyers wise, kind of going after?
I mean, if you hit,
Oh,
absolutely. If you hit the marks, which is what I say is the big three, you hit location, you hit the price point, and it's good condition. You hit those three. Typically, it's going to go still pretty quick. Uh, you know, I am seeing a little bit of a shift right now. We're talking September 2022 as we're doing this podcast. I'm seeing a little bit of a shift where we're not having major cash guarantees above appraised values. People, I don't see that as much. I'm even seeing hits and some closing cost assistance here and there. So, we're encouraged by it. But yeah, I mean, you got to hit those three: condition, price, location. And then the photos matter. If this photo number two is a picture of somebody's cat on the stand, I mean, I don't know whether you like cats or not, but as I keep scrolling, they want to see the first two photos as good work.
yeah. 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 I'm not a cat fan for the record, but I have one now since my daughter got one and then she went off to college and left it with us. So
I'm not a cat fan, but
yeah. No, but you're definitely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, the low inventory is an issue, but when those homes do come on the market, if they're listed properly with those key points, we're seeing it too. They're going fast. It might not be as aggressive as before. And thank goodness it isn't, because we needed some balance in the market, right? We needed some cooler heads to prevail.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's really in everyone's long-term benefit for the housing market and for the values of the homes and that sort of thing. So Drew, man, we're actually kind of running out of time here, man. This conversation's going fast. We need to do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. Be glad to be back on. I really enjoy it.
Tell all of our listeners how they can get up with you if they want a superstar agent to work with, somebody that'll go above and beyond the call of duty if necessary, if wanted. How do they get in touch with you, man?
Well, call my cell, 770-596-2696. You can text or call me anytime. I do have a Georgia cell phone number. It's sentimental to me. I've had it for a long time and I can't be doing it. But that's okay. Just don't dial 757 is 770. And yeah, reach me there. You can visit me online. You can find me, Drew Miller, First Class Mid-Atlantic. I'm also tied to At Peace Realty, as Paul had mentioned earlier on, where we learn our businesses and ministry. My wife and I are both licensed in real estate. Virginia, North Carolina here for me, Virginia for her. And yeah, we'd be glad to help you. Like you say, we love and value people. We treat people well, and you discount commissions. We give back to charity. We do all that good stuff. So we're glad to thank you.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get that phone number and those web locations in the show notes so people can have them.
Yeah,
And Drew, it's been awesome hanging out here, buddy.
absolutely. Thank you, Paul, very much. And I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. We'll do this again.
Sounds good. Let's do it.